You are dear viewers. Thank you for staying tuned on Rest TV. I'm Jackie Lingla, your host on the Financial Eye, where we explore on financial aspects that shape Uganda's economic future. Now, tonight we are diving into the current national budget for the financial year 2025-2026, where we will be unpacking various initiatives that were brought on board to empower young people and the women of Uganda out there. And now, of course, moving from scaling programs to entrepreneurship support, we have a guest in our studio tonight. I'm not alone. From the Youth for Tax Justice Network is a programs officer, that is Mr. Asimi Mugumya. You're very welcome, sir.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you for having me.
You could just say hi to the viewers.
Good evening, our viewers. Thank you for tuning in and for taking this journey with us on the Financial Eye.
Yeah. So we will be exploring about these initiatives that were embedded in the current national budget and how they are to impact the economic future of Uganda. Particularly, we are looking at the young people and the women of Uganda. So, Mr. Mugumya, give us an overview of some of the initiatives that have been put aside by the government of Uganda to ensure that it is empowering the young people or the youths of Uganda.
Thank you for that question, Jackie. So, good evening, viewers, once again. In the recently passed budget for this financial year, the 2025-2026 financial year, we have seen our government trying to reach out to the women and the youth, the young people out there, providing several initiatives for them where they can access and benefit from the government services. We have a number of these initiatives that have been provided for in the budget, and I can start by the ones that most of you know, the price development model. Okay. This has been around. They have just provided also more money for it in this budget. There is the Myoga initiative, which has also been around. We have the Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program, which most people know as UEP. We have the YLP, the Youth Livelihood Program, which is targeting the young people out there. We have GROW for generating group opportunities and productivity for women enterprises. Okay. Presidential Zonal Initiative hubs and skilling initiatives, and many more initiatives that have been put in the budget that are targeted to help women and youth to achieve some economic empowerment.
Okay, just to give us more details of what you've just mentioned, you've mentioned quite a number of initiatives that were put up aside by the government of Uganda to ensure that it's empowering entrepreneurship on the side of women and the youths. Now, particularly when we're to look at the youths, they put aside 100 trillion additional 100 billion Ugandan shillings for the Myoga in additional. How is this money going to support the youths in entrepreneurship in detail? How can they access it? Who is entitled to access it, and so on?
So thank you. The Myoga project, the initiative of Myoga, is a skillings program. Okay. It is targeted to develop skills of the young people and to increase their capacity so that they can be able to access jobs, create jobs, and also compete favorably on regional and also global markets. We realize that most of what has been holding us back is skilling issue. So this extra 100 billion that has been provided for a Myoga project is targeting to increase household income through the skilling projects. So these young people are expected to, where we will find them where they are skilling from in areas of trainings. There are areas of where that are besides the normal skilling programs, universities, these tertiary institutions, and increasing skills to add on what they already have so that it can help them benefit. How they can access it, it is being run by the Ministry of Gender
Okay.
and social development. So, and the people to benefit, you cannot be an individual, so you have to be a group, and maybe a class group or skilling enterprise where they
Okay,
can
which
benefit from.
areas of skilling are they looking at?
They are mostly looking at uh, hand that don't need. So these hand skills like tailoring,
Okay.
welding,
Okay.
where if you find where that's where most women and young people are. So the government is now trying to reach the people where they are, as opposed to it's like an up-down approach, as opposed to the people having to go to the government where it is. So you have to be in those areas of skilling, and when you're well organized as a group, and then you apply through the relevant authorities, and you access this funding. It's not free money; it has to be paid back, but it helps.
Okay, so of course the initiative is there. 100 extra billion Ugandan shillings was put aside to empower the young people. But where is it for? Because when you say get a group of young people, make sure you organize, where do they go? Do I go to any entity, any bank, and ask about Yoga, or there are particular entities that have been put aside to work with government to
Yes.
ensure that there is this proper implementation of this initiative?
Government usually largely works with the Uganda Development Bank.
Okay.
That's where mostly all its monies have been going through. But also, I believe it's not the only one. I believe there are some commercial banks. As I saw in the budget, government is trying to promote what is called PPP, private public partnerships.
Okay.
So that it does not only government entities that we must work with, even private entities, we can work with them to help our people.
Now, you mentioned the Uganda Development Bank. There was an additional 1 trillion Ugandan shillings set aside for capitalization. What is the role of the Uganda Development Bank in detail in supporting youth-led businesses in Uganda?
So Uganda Development Bank is an institute, is a financial institute like any other bank, but this one helps young people and growing businesses in the country to access credit at cheaper rates as compared to the other banks in the market. So most of this is usually funding from the government, from the World Bank, and from other financial institutions, and they are tailored to meet the government goals. Because now, in this financial year, the government has set its own goals for us to try and achieve. That is why all these monies are being set aside. We are trying to reach some certain level.
Okay.
Right.
What are your thoughts about the ongoing challenges that we have in the process of implementation? Because the plan is normally a smart plan, but when it comes to execution, we end up underscoring as a country. So what are the main challenges that you would think over the years? We've had, when we were just young, we had about the Wunabagagawale, and we do not know if how many success stories we had out of that. Now this time around, this current financial year, we're seeing a list of so many initiatives, basically for all income levels, to ensure that Uganda can move to the tenfold economy. What are the main challenges that are trying to hinder us as a country from achieving our intended objectives?
Thank you for that, Jackie. I've heard this so many times. People on the street complain that we make very good plans, but the challenge is implementation. Well, if your plans have something to do with implementation, maybe they're not good plans to start with, because the planning process, you must learn what you did in the past, what failed, what worked, and we try to do better from there. So the issue of challenges, what challenges do we usually incur? We have, much as the literacy rate has changed, has improved, but we still have people who do not know about these initiatives. They don't even know that they exist. We still have a group of people who don't even know where they stand to benefit in their own national budget. So it is quite challenging finding how trying to work with them, I think, on the side of the government, to because now it cannot work alone. You must respect that. But also, one of the other plans is capacity. Even when they know, but there's capacity gaps, and they also need to be covered. So that's also another challenge.
Okay.
And we have quite many. We have these issues of there's the people working against us, and you're trying to achieve something, then someone else is on the opposing side, also contradicting whatever you're doing. Then we also have the challenge of creating awareness, because now when people do not know, it is very hard to work with them. So the first step is to inform them about all these initiatives that have been put in place for them, and then learn where they can benefit, what they can do to benefit, things like that.
Okay, so when we talk about the young people, one of the key issues would be, one of the areas that we would focus on would be the small and medium enterprises and the startups, because that is, when we talk about a young age group, that's where we could categorize them more effectively. Now, what are the key issues that the government has put on board, or implement as strategies that the government has put on board to ensure that the tax compliance framework is favorable to attract young people to start up new businesses and also contribute to the economic growth of Uganda?
Thank you. For the issue of startups, we have had, over time, we've had complaints from the young people about unemployment. It has been you see, we as Uganda, over 70% of its population is in the young people gap, 30 and below. And these are people who, the biggest budget, about 56% of them are unemployed, so they cannot contribute properly to the money economy. So most of them have resorted to starting businesses if they can't get jobs. So they have decided to create jobs. But also, we've also seen a trend in the past where most of the businesses do not see their first birthday.
Okay.
So it has been a journey from failure to failure to failure. But now, in one of the tax amendments that have been passed, especially according to the Income Tax Act, the amendment, the small and medium enterprises will get the ones that have been put in place after 1st of July this year will get a 3-year tax holiday. But to benefit from that, they must register with the URA and also give information about third parties that they are dealing with. So in a way, they're not paying taxes yet, but they are providing more information,
okay,
widening our tax base,
okay,
and also helping themselves grow. Because now this is a 3-year gap. Before they have been complaining, they don't even see their first birthday. And now, if you give someone a 3-year tax base, a tax holiday of 3 years, I think it is a good startup to build on and run forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, for the initiatives that were put aside for the women,
yes,
we hear of GROW, and then at the same time we're hearing of the Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program.
Yes.
Is it a mutation? Are they doing the same thing? Is there something unique between the two? Can I be eligible for this one when I'm not eligible for? Can I be eligible for the Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program when I'm not eligible for GROW? What is the difference between the two programs?
Thank you. So the GROW, which is now in full, is generating group opportunities and productivity for women enterprises. In this budget, it was allocated about 231.3 billion shillings, while on the other hand, UWEP, the Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program, was allocated about 168 billion.
Okay.
You can see they are all initiatives targeting women, but we have to look at them deeply now. The Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program is helping women to start up, those who have not been. See, one of the challenges that our society faces is also people, a large group of people into subsistence farming, those who work for the stomach, and they don't want to keep anything for the next day. So now this is targeted to help those women to learn how to be entrepreneurial in whatever they are doing. If they are in fishing communities, they try also to keep for the next day. If they are tailoring, whatever area they are into, but to help to start enterprise. That is for those who are just starting and at a very small scale. These are usually in rural areas, which is also one of the things that we have to look at statistically is the women also is the majority of, like the women are the majority, the biggest percentage of the gender gap in our country. So on the other hand, grow, like how you hear the word, it is targeting those who are already in the business world to scale and grow. To maybe, if you have only been selling in one district, you can now cross the border, sell in other districts, or if you have been in Uganda, you can now sell to neighboring countries. And if you have been having issues scaling up, maybe you're not accessing credit. Access to credit is also a very big help for businesses. So those ones who have already been starting something, it is enabling them to grow. So all these, now the government is looking at all of us in whichever form we are. Those ones who have never started, encouraging them to start. Those who have been starting but they are still small and they are struggling, encouraging them to grow. And trying to help all of them at their very rate to access economic empowerment.
Okay. Now we need more shed light on some initiatives that the President always mentions. Of course, it's an initiative by the government itself. That is the Presidential Zonal Industrialization Hubs that have been set aside. What do they entail? And in form of bridging the skilling gap that we have in Uganda, how much more can the government do to ensure that we move from an economy that breeds young people who seek for jobs rather than those that are creating them?
So the Presidential Zonal Industrial Hubs and Skilling Initiatives, this one is targeted at supporting the youth and skilling them. They are targeting now mostly urban and underprivileged youth. This one is different from the Myoga we talked about earlier, because it's also about skilling, but the Myoga is more about the rural youth. This one is targeting the urban youth. And,
so these ones are for the Kampala people?
It's not only Kampala, it's the urban place now. We have to know, we have more than one city in the country.
Okay.
So, but now, even in the urban areas, we have young people that are struggling. It is not just enough that you're in Kampala. You also must survive when you're there. So in this budget, this one has been provided for about 58 billion shillings, and it is targeting for the skilling of the young people. And skilling, like it is in different areas. There are those who are in professional skilling, but there are those who are also in technical and vocational skilling. And this is here, the people can access student loans. If those who come together and try to learn, like people who are at welding stations, having sometimes of these days we don't have to go to school to learn. There are those who want to learn on the job.
Okay.
Yeah, so even those ones can access.
Okay.
Yes.
That is about what we have for you on the Financial Eye tonight with me, Jackie Lingle, and with the programs office from Youth for Tax Justice Network here in Uganda. That is Mr. Asime Mugumya. Of course, we are expounding on or exploring on the current initiatives that were put on in the budget for the financial year 2025-2026 that are impacting or empowering young people and the women of Uganda. So stay tuned on Race TV. Do not go away. We're going for commercial break. We'll be right back.
The Financial Eye, making finance clear.
Welcome back to the Financial AI program with me, Jackie Lingler, where we shed a light on financial aspects that shape Uganda's economy. And as we see the economy together tonight, we are trying to explore the various initiatives that the government has put aside to empower young people and women out there in form of, skilling them and also supporting their enterprises in terms of accessing funds and so on and so on. So tonight I'm with programs officer, that is Mr. Simwe from Tax for Youth.
Youth for Tax Justice Network.
Youth for Tax Justice Network in Uganda. And much as the organization talks about tax, what are some of the changes that have been put aside by the government related to tax that we need to know about in this financial year?
Thank you very much, Jackie. So we at first earlier talked about the tax holiday for new businesses, the 3-year tax holiday, and there's also an amendment in the Tax Procedure Code Act providing that no longer requires you to use your tax identification number for taxation. In the previous financial years, we've been having to process what is called TIN. This is a tax identification number,
okay,
to be able to interact with the taxing body uses to interact with us. But this amendment for the Tax Procedure Code Act, it took force on 1st of June 2025. It means that the URA no longer needs to
use the TIN
to interact with us through the TIN.
Okay.
URA can interact with us through our NIN for individuals. It's a national, it's the NIN is a national ID, the national identification number, or for businesses, we have what we call a BRN. Every registered business in the country, whether it's a company or a business name, has a BRN. So this amendment allows the taxing body to tax us through that BRN, business registration number. Then for foreigners, those who are not individuals, who are not companies.
So before we go to the foreigners, I would want to know why the change. What is better? What has made the government turn to the BRN and the NINs as we moved away from the TINs?
So I think there's been a feeling that most people want to do business but don't want to pay taxes. Okay. That is what has been going on. So people register their companies, even we're already registered as human beings, but you find how many people have national IDs? This big number. But how many people have TINs? Very few. So those that don't have TINs but have national IDs, there's no way you are able to interact with them. So to try and widen the tax base, the government thought, the powers that be thought it wise that we scrap off the TIN and having so many numbers on one entity or one person, and we interact with them. If you're an individual, through your NIN, and if you're a business, through your BRN.
Okay. Yes. Now, moving forward to the foreigners, you're still explaining to us.
Yes, the foreigners, that is, even when someone comes from abroad and still wants to work here, they have to pay taxes here. So for those ones, we have to interact with them through their foreign issued TINs.
Okay. Now also, if we move to the young people, we've heard of the Youth Livelihood Program. What is it? What are the objectives? How are the young people being helped to come up with new enterprises through this livelihood program?
Thank you. So this Youth Livelihood Program, in this financial year, it has been allocated about 191 billion shillings, and it targets the youth, which is a very huge majority of this country, but also to improve their livelihood in where they work. As opposed to the other ones that have been about skilling, the other ones have been targeting the capacity development of the individual. Okay. Now this one is targeting, looking at the individual wholesomely. People can get sick, people can get issues with where the workplaces, they are laid off, things like that. So the Youth Livelihood Program helps them where they are to still survive in times of hardships. it is not an
Could
insurance
you
per
give us
se.
a life scenario of what kind of hardship? Because we need to understand these things at a layman's language. Just give us a scenario of how this program is trying to help an individual. For
Yes.
example, I'm working, I'm a
Yes.
youth working somewhere, I've fallen sick. How is this program important to me?
So this 191 billion that has been allocated to the youth livelihood program
Okay.
in this budget is designed to help the youth that has encountered that challenge to access hope. Now, if, for example, like you say you're working and maybe your friends that you can no longer work, those who are casual laborers
Okay.
who have to work
I've
every
gotten
day
an
to earn.
accident and
Yes.
I've been laid off at my workplace. Now I'm okay. And there's this 100 and, you said 70 billion?
191.
191 billion.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would go and request for the money to start up a business. Is it what it's doing?
This
or
is not per se for business.
It's for what?
It is to help the livelihood of the person.
So you give me money to be well
To-
off, and do I
This
pay
is
it
like
back?
it's like a sort of insurance for if you fall sick, we look after you. But you have to be registered, and there's the people at the community leaders must be aware of who you are and what you're doing.
So what are the criteria? Registration, what does it entail? Do I just need my NIN and give it there and show that I'm a Ugandan citizen youth? I want to be a member under the livelihood program. Or do they pay money?
So I have to take note, all these youth initiatives are under the Ministry of Gender. And of course, we don't have to go to the ministry and line up.
Okay.
So they break down to the community and the ground.
Okay.
Every district has its own district programs, and the go-to persons for access of these initiatives.
Okay.
So now it is up to the youth on the grassroots to care more, find out in our district, where do I go? Who is the Minister of Gender representative on our district? How do I access this? And what criteria? But this, as the others have been about initiative, and
This one is about the livelihood of the individual.
consider it as insurance.
Okay.
Yes.
Now the Invite initiative, could you just expound more about the Invite initiative?
I believe the Invite is the investment for industrial transformation and empowerment. This is about the industries already in place. In the budget now, it was allocated about 275 billion, and it is targeted to promote industrial transformation. Largely, our economy has been a subsistence economy, and now we are trying to move on from subsistence to industry. Now we need to produce more for selling, not just for consumption, and also once we sell, we also buy more. So this is targeted to inclusive economic empowerment for youth and women through job creation. Once you're required to produce more, you can't just now work alone. You have to hire people to work with and scale your products. So most of these industries that will benefit on this one, there are those that have been in existence, but also the new ones. And I think most of this money will have to be accessed through the Uganda Development Bank.
Okay. Now, so given the deficiency in transparency and deficiency when it comes to implementation, and also when we look at the service delivery, normally there is poor service delivery when we come to the actual running on ground. What are your thoughts? What should the government do to improve these areas?
Thank you. I will have to agree with you. There's a lot of, it is not entirely transparent, I agree, but the government needs to do more. The government needs to be open to its citizens, and we can all see it is election year, so the people still also need to care more and be more involved, not have it one pathway thing. So one of the things that can be done is create more awareness about these initiatives. You should not stop about the budget speech. It's not only for the Minister of Finance. There should be a visible trickle down for what has been sent where, what it has done, and also we need to hold our people to accountability. Yeah, most of us now, I think the people that we can easily hold to are members of parliament whom we vote, but also we have more leaders, we have more immediate leaders that we can hold accountable to. And if you're in leadership position, you should know what is happening in your constituency. So we need to hold our people, our leaders to accountability, so that they can tell us, okay, this is what we have allocated, this is what it has done, and as opposed to now stopping at allocation and then we wait for the next financial year to say, okay, what did the other money do? And there's no actual feedback.
Okay. Now, given also the tech gap that we have to ensure inclusiveness, especially for the young and women in the rural areas, of course, we need some form of literacy.
Yes.
What is your take on this?
Most of that literacy gap is now being covered through the skilling initiatives. But you also have to see they're not enough considering the kind of population that we have. The budget that was read last time, most of it is now into debt financing. So even what is being allocated here for the skilling initiatives, for the livelihood programs, is not enough in itself. That is anyone can see that, honestly. But what we can do, we can, at an individual level and also at a national level, we can improve our capacities to be able to compete, because now we have to think globally. In terms of ICT, I'm seeing ICT is one of the 4 areas that this budget is focusing on, alongside commercialized agriculture. That will also need ICT. Even industry, for industry to perform well, it will also need ICT. And the other area is also service. It will not work alone without ICT. So things like initiatives like this that try to better our people, we have to take them seriously, but then also we have to do better ourselves as human beings, as citizens, and also as a nation collectively, so as to be able to compete favorably on the global market.
Okay, when you talk about competing favorably in the global market, what do you think the government should do? Because we are looking at the government skilling the young people from there, but in the issue of accessing these markets, what should the government do to ensure that the borders of the countries, especially the ones around us, are fully open for someone who has just spent a minimum of 3 to 4 years in the market?
Yes.
In terms of business?
So one of the things the government can do is to take advantage of the existing agreements with its partner states. The most immediate one is the EAC community. For the last time we've tried to broaden the EAC. It is now coming from one ocean to the other, with DRC being the recent add-on. It is growing, but it also needs to have an actual tangible benefit to its people. One of now the improvements that has happened is when you're traveling through the ESC, you don't need to actually look for visas. You can just, even with a national ID, you can just cross over to Kenya or to TZ. But the movement of skills, the movement of goods, that is still lacking.
Okay.
We are still seeing that lacking. So many people have their goods stuck at the border or stuck at the ocean, and there's also the changes in the tax gaps and the custom duties, all that. There's still a lot missing. Then when you move on from the ESC, we have now COMESA. The government can take advantage of that. This is also a regional market for free movement of goods, which we do not see in actual tangible sense. You know, okay, the agreements are there, the documents are there, we can just go and read, but we need to actually see them. So now ministries like the Ministry of Trade needs to show up here and say what has benefited us since maybe we signed the COMESA agreement, and also future forward looking what we hope to benefit. Then also on the whole of entire Africa, we now have the AfCFTA, which is the Africa Free Continental Trade Area.
Okay.
Most of the African countries, I think, minus one, or the 54, when you just remove one, they have signed up to this agreement for free movement of goods. But still, the problem still remains, is if you have to move your goods from here to South Africa, you still have to face a few hurdles, and you'll be like, so where does AfCFTA help me? But we need to actually see these things being implemented. These agreements have phasal implementations, like when you're removing taxes and for some goods from partner states, and also how the government can earn, and also how the citizens can benefit. We understand that the government needs taxes to run. We are not saying flip taxes unless, so who will pay the police, who will pay all these other people that are depending on them. But then we need to find a way of actually implementing these agreements since we signed up to them, and showing our people that, okay, if the agreement has been around now for 10 years, what has changed? What was the whole point of doing the agreement in the first place? And we have to see tangible change in the people, in the trade communities at least.
Okay. Now, apart from the obvious indicators like increment in the number of business startups that are coming on board, what are the indicators are we going to use to mark that whatever initiative we put into implementation, we have achieved the intended objective as an economy? What are the indicators for our success? 5 years from now, if we are to assess, what would be the indicators that whatever we were able to, implement in the financial year 2025-2026, we actually achieved after the financial years?
I think first, the major indicator will be a decline in the business mortality rate. We've been having a high business mortality rate. Most businesses closing before even their first birthday. Okay. But now we have a 3-year tax holiday. We are hoping that businesses will be at least to survive for at least the first 5 years. So if there's a high business mortality rate, it is clear the more businesses that are being formed, the more jobs are being created, the more goods we are selling, the more we are also competing, and competition also helps to increase the quality of what we are selling. If we have 2 or 3 people trying to sell a good, it increases quality. I saw in the speech, the budget speech, when the Honorable Minister was explaining what has happened since the putting in place of the Uganda Airlines. It has created competition for other neighboring airlines, which have had to cut their prices down, and still the service is still being delivered, but now at a favorable, cheaper cost. So the cost of working will reduce if there's more people doing the work. Then we also hope to see, with all these skilling initiatives, really, we hope to see an increase in the capacity. We cannot now have to skill all this and then we are still dealing with the same capacity problem after, say, 5-10 years after these initiatives are being put in place. That is also an expectation. Then I think also the other general expectation is an increase in household and national income, because now the more we make money, also the more the state makes money. So if now our budget is at 72 trillion, we can hope that, okay, in the next 3 years maybe we can be looking at maybe 120 or 100 trillion, because once these initiatives take effect, it's expected that yes, people will make more money, and if they will make more money, they will pay more taxes, they will trade more, and there will be general improvements in people's livelihoods.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Moguni. Now, moving forward, last but not least, the education system of Uganda. What should be improved to ensure that the Ugandans that finish school are able to start up businesses that meet the needs of the people?
Thank you for that. That's a very valid fear. We've had people who say, colleagues who are into, say, writing code or the kind of education that is related to that is directly interacting with technology. We've had people saying there are students at this point right now who are in school studying technologies that will be outdated by the time they graduate.
Which is true.
And you see, these technologies are moving at an extremely high pace.
Yeah.
Now we have AI. People have to compete with the robots for jobs. And the AI delivers at very high rates and also is not that expensive to maintain. So one of the ways of matching up with the competition is to keep our people interested in what is every new thing that comes up. We need to be more agile. We need to be more reactive. We can't just keep one syllabus there for 10 years. That no longer works now. And we need to also learn how to be practical. At the end of the day, even the ones that are coming up with the new technologies are solving a problem. So they have to be practical about most of these things. So one of the things that our education sector needs to look at is to be more agile and changing with the changing society, not just being reactive.
Okay, Mr. Sime, could you just give us your closing remarks to the Ugandans who are watching us tonight?
Thank you. So our people out there, we just wanted to let you know of all these initiatives that have been brought up in the new budget, and also that we can take advantage of them. The situation may not be what we want it to be, but it's also not as bad as it has been. There's been some changes, some positive changes, even though there's not been so much to look out for. But let's take keen interest in these initiatives. Let's try to get involved in our own governance. Let's hold our leaders to account, and let's be more involved in our country, for God and my country.
Thank you so much, sir. That is well said by Mr. Sime Mugumia from a programs officer from Youth for Tax Justice Network, Uganda. That is it for now. I'm Jackie Lingla, your host as always on the Financial Eye. Till next time, every Friday at 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Stay tuned on Race TV. A very good evening.
The Financial Eye, making finance clear.